Hey everybody, got part 3 of our mega juicing the Headhunter Divination Cards. Patient part 1 has been finished. The Nurse part 2 has been finished. The findings on the Nurse were quite interesting. The drop rate's a bit higher than expected. I am quite curious where the Doctor falls into this. Supposedly the Doctor card was nerfed. It doesn't surprise me that happened, but I found 45 patient cards in the armory in 16 maps, and to turn around and found 12 nurse cards in the tower in 16 maps with a certain level of juicing I'm doing begs the question as to whether or not I ought to find a doctor in 16 maps, at least one doctor in 16 maps. But I never heard of anybody really, succeeding in that sense, unless they're incredibly lucky. But the question is, can you juice a map hard enough to really earn a doctor card in as little as 16 maps? And that's a question I want to answer. So I'm going to see if we can do it. I'm going to jump into what I have going on. Very similar to the other parts. Juicing 16 maps, all with Beyond, and all with Harbinger Delirium Orb. That orb seems to pay for itself. I really like it. It's easy on the bag space. Beyond, low quantity Beyond is not, like BIS. Obviously not BIS for divination card farming, which relies specifically on quantity. But this is not like an all-in strategy. I'm still trying to turn a good profit otherwise. Using Nemesis 3 with Beyond. And whereas I usually use just these two winged Scarabs for the divination targeting, I am also using Abyss because this map, unlike part 1 and part 2, this time the map to farm is actually in a good region. It's in a region that supports more heavy juicing. I can really juice up Abyss really hard in this zone. So I'm going to put 6 Abysses on each map by running a Winged Abyss Scarab and by running an Elevated Abyss Sextant, which I'll show you guys in a second. I do have a couple Templar Watchstones in, so the Rusted Legion is going to work out just fine. Really lucky with the rolls on this. I hit both of these Watchstones in just 4 Elevated Sextant rolls. And the other 2 I bought, the 2 that are missing that I wanted. So no double Beyond this time, only single Beyond, just from the map. These are super good Watchstones. They even have great suffixes, both 100%. So expect some Templar emblems, maybe, at least one, hopefully. Or at the very least, Templar legions should be spawning a fair bit. So yeah, let's queue up the Monstrous Treasure and Bountiful Traps. I think I'll run them both. And I really do think I'm going to find a Doctor card. I honestly think there's a greater than 50% chance that I will find one of these in 16 maps. And I think there's even like a 20%, I'm just guessing, but I think there's even like a 20% chance that I'll find 2 or more. So yeah. That's how it is. That's how it's going to be anyway. Putting it in here. Map start. I got exactly 8 Alva missions. Just farmed a few of those up. I do not have any Nemesis beyond double rolled maps. So we're just going to go like this. And we're going to start it off. 1 second here. Got to reset something on my stream. That's weird. Almost ready. Just need to double check this. Okay. Give it a little bit of testing. Yep, seems to be working. Okay. In we go. Booyah. I can't wait to do these Abyss. Really looking forward to how strong that is. Monstrous treasure on the first map. That's never happened before, actually, in any kind of juicing testing I've done. So this is going to be absolutely bonanzas. I have 60% less regen. So that hurts a little bit, but what? Oh, there it is. Yeah, 49 strong boxes, baby. 6 abysses. 250% more divination cards. 600% more quantity from the strong boxes. I mean, hell, we might get a monster. We might get a doctor card right here. This seriously might happen. There's as good a chance as any. Diviner's lockbox in the front. One interesting thing I never told and said this on the stream, but right after I did the patient farming, I got some stacked decks in there. I got like 24 stacked decks. Stuff. And so, after I turned the stream off, I decided to roll the stacked decks. I just went out to like some random place and threw the stacked decks on the ground. And, those were the stacked decks that I found from the armory. And it was literally like minutes before I set up my tower nurse targeting strat. And lo and behold, what card dropped from that? A nurse card dropped from those stacked decks of like 20. One nurse card. Now, I thought that was pretty interesting, and I was like, damn, I wish I streamed that, because that's hilarious. Like, that would have been like super PogChamp's moment. If I was a popular streamer and I was streaming that moment, everyone would be like, oh my god, it's Providence or whatever. Like, but I didn't stream it. I was like, whatever. So then I run my tower testing part, and of course I got many stacked decks. I got 31 stacked decks that time, and this happened like 2 hours ago. And I was getting my Doctor Part 3 set up. I was like, well, okay, I need to get these stacked decks out, and I'm just gonna roll them to see what they give me. And I was thinking about that nurse card that dropped when I was rolling the patient stacked decks from the patient farming. Yeah, guess what dropped from the set of stacked decks from the tower nurse farming as I was getting ready to do burial chambers to target farm the doctor card. Guess which card dropped? The doctor card dropped. Of course it did. And I was like, okay. Why did I not stream that? Why did I not stream that? But anyway, it's a funny story. You guys can believe it or not. Take my word for it. I have no reason to make a lie like that. Doesn't service anything really, but it's just an interesting story, and so, there's some sort of existential motivating entity out there, I think, that is wanting me to do these tests, because it's really kind of leading me to the promised land. The burial chambers being the promised land, apparently, right now. So, but yeah, that's all I got to say on that. 5 exalted shards. Draped in. Wow. Okay. I heard the sound. I was like, oh, there's my third Exalted Orb for the in 3 map. But no, it's my first Doctor in 3 maps. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. 3 maps, 1 Doctor. How you like them apples? All those people saying, oh my god, I ran Burial Chambers 100 maps. Never seen a Doctor. Oh my god, 200 maps. Oh my god, it was 1,000 maps already. I got my first Doctor. Like, that, there's no way that's right. There's no way that's right. Like, with, I mean, it's right, I guess, with the tiny amount of juice, just like Al can go, you're not gonna get it. You gotta juice the map. And you gotta juice it big. And I just got 3 Exalt drops here. I'll pretty much be caught up. I kind of have a funny feeling I'm gonna get a ton of Exalts this map. Or maybe a Doctor. Fine Orb. Gonna drop. This is the place. Exalted Orb. Look at the devil. Oh yeah. Yeah, that puts a smile on my face. That puts a smile on my face. One more. One more right here. Streamer RNG, come on. Get streamer RNG. Or maybe it doesn't apply to new streamers. Ha! It does! Streamer RNG! It's real! Just had to call Chris Wilson. Just had to call him up. Call him through the ether. Oh, jeez. I got nothing. I got nothing for that. Alright, everybody. Welcome. We got the results from the Doctor Burial Chambers targeting farming session. And here it is. 1. Better than what most people probably would have guessed. Being able to get 1 Doctor card in just 16 maps is quite a feat by most people's standards, I'd say, regardless of how hard you're juicing. Admittedly, I was juicing pretty hard, but not like insane, like just stupid amounts of currency thrown at it. I was juicing in an intelligent way where I was able to make a fair bit of profit in the process. Yeah, which is something I want to point out for all 3 of the tests, whether it was the patient, nurse, or doctor card. I was not exclusively focusing on trying to get as many of those cards as I could. I was also focusing on trying to get currency, primarily through Nemesis 3. And one prime example of that is that instead of rolling all of my maps to just maximum quantity, 8 modifiers, uncorrupted, no, I actually settled for low quantity maps with Beyond, and then put Nemesis on them that way, because that was a more balanced approach to getting as much currency as well as still being able to farm the Divination cards pretty heavily. Let's get into the results here. We got the kind of the usual picture, a ton of maps. Burial Chambers is at T15, so a lot of T14 to T16s dropped. And let's see, I got my info up here. The total of this all was actually a little higher than usual because I dropped quite a few more unique maps than usual. Some high quality unique maps, as well as Shaper maps, an Elder map, a Blighted map, surprisingly came out on this. And also, I went ahead and threw the Chronicles in here as well. Got much luckier than usual with the Chronicles. I'm able to run three temples basically in 16 maps, or sorry, 4 temples, and 3 of them hit valuable rooms. 3 of the 4, 2 of them are Doriana's Institute, and 1 Locus of Corruption. Finally hit a Locus of Corruption. So the Doriana's Institutes are each worth about half an Exalt, and the Locus of Corruption is selling for 2x. Actually, more than that. I'm currently buying them at like 2x in a live search right now, so they're selling pretty high. It is the end of the season, so that's partly why. Yeah, but anyway, all the maps all the way up through the Necropolis map I counted as 5C apiece. Once I got to Malkun and the temple maps here, I started counting these at like 10C apiece. The Blight map I counted at 25C, I think, and yeah. Similar, so 1,130C with all the maps up through the Chronicles. Simulacrums was 150C for 1 simulacrum and 113 splinters. The heist stuff, I actually got much unluckier than usual with the heist blueprints and contracts, I think. I didn't get any unusual gems. Got 1 replica, a couple of, this 10C, 10C, 20C. The deception contracts, only 3. Rogue markers, the usual number. And the heist stuff totaled out to about 114C. I did, on the other hand, get much luckier than usual when it came to the items. I got now I was like super juicing Abyss, so I got way more Abyss jewels than usual to kind of identify. So naturally, I got a few decent ones and a couple, or at least one really good one. These here are all like 10C a piece, and it would get like a 20 or 30C for these couple here. Or sorry, like this one I counted at like 60C, I think, because this is a pretty good roll. I don't know about the physical damage, but the other 3 rolls are quite premium. And then this one, if I'm not mistaken, is like GG for Toxic Rain, or any kind of poison arrow type build. You got T1 life. Got T2 accuracy. I've never even seen T1 accuracy anymore. I'm really not sure it exists. You got the mandatory fate, T1 phasing on one of your jewels, and then that's a T4 chaos damage. But with the other 3 being super premium, I mean, this gotta be worth at least an Exalt. So I counted this as an Exalt. Let's see, cluster jewel bases, nothing special, 5C piece there. I did get a 1 with nothing and a good gem. Now this gem dropped from the incubators. Some of the items that I got actually came from incubators, which I think is actually where this item came from, the Stormheart 6-linked. So because I was farming in New Vastir, I was able to run legions, and consequently, I just put all my incubators in except for this one, which I would sell normally at like 10C a piece. So we got now this staff is really hard to price, because what's usually going to happen with a staff like this is you're going to put it for sale for like 1x or half an x, and it's not going to sell probably for weeks, and then some poor soul will decide they want to do a build with this staff and 6-linked, and you're going to sell it to that person. But I went ahead and counted this as worth 50C to kind of split the difference there. This is a perfectly rolled south, except for the lightning damage anyway, not for the intelligence. And it goes for, I mean, they're up for trade for like 2x a piece, but I also counted this at like 50C. Let's see, chevrons, a decently rolled chevrons. I honestly can't remember what I counted this for, but it was conservative. I got an Enlighten. This I counted at 1.4 Exalts. This is my first Enlighten drop of the season, and there's like less than a week of the season left. So that's kind of funny. That concludes all the items, and that totaled out to 760C. So like three or four times more chaos and items than usual. Let's move on to the expedition stuff. The usual picture here. I counted. I did go ahead and calculate Grand Black Scythe and Grand Sun, and also all 4 logbooks. Got luckier than usual with the logbooks. Logbooks only 50C a piece. I counted, and I totaled that to 292C. Oh yeah, as well as the medallions and things. The shards. I believe I got 37 exalted shards, if I'm not mistaken, from all 16 maps, because I was running the Delirium orb with the Harbinger shard drops. So many exalted shards come out of that. So anyway, there's 17 shards here. I went ahead and counted the ancient and annulment shards, because a lot of them drop. And as well as, okay, so I was running New Vastir. It took a while, but I finally did get a couple emblem drops, and one was a Templar. I did have a 200% increased likelihood of seeing a Templar with all 16 maps, so that's actually to be expected. At least one of these, I'd say. And let's see, all these shards and the fragments together, 209C. Then we move on to currency, per usual. I don't think I got as much currency as usual, to be honest. Like when I'm looking back at especially the tower farming session, this is not quite as much currency as usual, which is really strange to think, because I got, I believe, 7 monstrous treasure procs on this testing, which I had to actually alter how I calculated the total cost expenditures of this, because so many monstrous treasure procced. We'll get into that later. But I think the reason I have less currency is because even though, long story short, I substituted 8% more beyond for 3 more abyss. Now, I honestly thought that would result in not only more divination cards, but also actually more currency, because tons of rare monsters, tons of monsters in general spawn from the abyss in New Vastir, winged abyss especially. So getting the extra 3 abysses should have been huge, but it appears, and it was huge in some ways. It was huge for items and maps, as I did seem to get even more maps than usual. But as far as currency, it seemed to be less than, it seemed to yield less through the Nemesis 3 than the 8% more beyond. And I'm not in Glennick Cairns, so that's a little bit surprising to me. A little bit educational there. Anyway, the Scouries, 161C there. Regals, 24C. Gem Cutters, 26C. Blessed, 70C. Regrets, 130C. Vals, 179C. Chaos, there are 592 Chaos here. Awakened Sextants, I combined them all. 552C. Way fewer Sextants, and there's at least like 40 less Sextants here than usual in this test. So a little bit alarming there. 4 Harbinger Orbs came from the Delirium Orbs. 4 Ancient Orbs. I think at least 1 stack of that came from, or at least like 2, maybe not 3 of the Ancient Orbs here came from the shards from the Delirium Orb. Annulment and Veiled and Orbs of Unmaking. These 4 here I calced at 8 chaos apiece. So the Harbinger Orbs is 4 chaos apiece. That's 16C for the Harbinger, 32 for the Ancients, 24 for the Annuls, 48 for the Veiled, 32 for the Unmakings. Divine Orbs actually climbing a little bit more, supposedly about 20 chaos apiece right now, but I still counted it as 18C. I counted for all 3 of these tests, I counted these at 18C apiece, and the Divine Orbs are 504C. Similar story with the Exalted Orbs, counted at 140 chaos apiece, even though they're technically worth like 132C apiece right now. Exalts total to 1,680 chaos. Now, to Divination Cards. Of course, we have the Doctor, and that made up a large portion of the profit. Got way more stacked decks than usual. Just had a lot more stacked deck remnants, as well as logbook remnants than usual in the expeditions. These are all worth like 3, 4, 5 C a piece. These, and then you get to like 10 C a piece, and then this one's like 20, 25. And then, you know, the big daddy of them all, the Doctor dropped a map number 3. I did make a highlight video out of that, and you no doubt saw it if you're watching this video on YouTube. It was pretty sick. I didn't even see it dropped. I only heard it dropped, which is pretty funny. But yeah, the total divination value here is 1,467 C, being a little bit conservative. I did count the Doctor worth 9x, like straight up. Okay, so the total gross chaos farmed up here was about 8,192, which is roughly 58 exalts. Total cost. Now, this is important. With the patient and the nurse, my total costs were about 1.5x per map. I couldn't, in good faith, calculate it that way for the for New Vastir for a couple of reasons. Two reasons really. One, instead of using 2 winged scarabs and 2 gilded scarabs, I was using 3 winged scarabs and 1 gilded scarab for the burial chambers. Namely, instead of using gilded abyss, I was using winged abyss. Huge difference in cost there. Gilded abyss is like 7 or 10 C. Winged is like 50 almost. So huge difference there. Rightfully so, because of the extra monsters that spawn per abyss, not just for the extra abyss. And also, again, I think the patient card, I got 3 monstrous treasure procs. The tower, maybe 4 or 5 monstrous treasure. And this one, I believe I got 7. I got some extra monstrous treasure procs, so I really had to kind of calculate it up. So I went ahead and raised it up to, I believe it's 1.7 or 1.5. So 1.7 or 1.75 exalts per map. Total cost 28x. It should be 1.75x per map, 28x, which means a net profit of 30 exalts. And unfortunately, also because of the monstrous treasure, I was running a little bit slower than usual. I was trying to do one map in 15 minutes, which I can do if no monstrous treasure, but there's just so many monstrous treasures that cranked up to 20-25 minutes per map on those. And I decided it's best when I rated the X per hour to, instead of doing 4 maps per hour, it's 3 maps per hour. So the total rate looks a little bit worse than the tower, which was 8, 9, or 10x per hour. The rate here is only 6 to 7x. Also, I almost forgot to mention, abysses take a while. Abysses definitely slow you down as far as clearing a map. You know, you gotta chase it, you gotta backtrack, you gotta wait for them to spawn everything, and extra monsters spawn, they last longer in New Vastir. While Abyss is great for a variety of reasons, it does add to the time of clearing the map. So the abysses, yeah, all the extra abyss, instead of having 2 abyss per map, I had 6. As well as longer lasting abyss, and that combined with the 2 extra monster treasures, more monstrous treasures than usual, I had to, in good faith, say 3 maps per hour. It's about the rate I could run. So that's going to be 6 to 7x per hour, and that's basically the story. One more thing before I go, though. Oh yeah, actually a couple of things. So the big thing, conclusion. So I want to kind of give my concluding thoughts. So wrapping up everything, I think the armory, farming the patient, just not very good at all. A few reasons for that. The map, I don't like the map. I really don't like the map, especially with all its little corridors and things. With a Strongboxes spawn there, it cannot result in maximum number of monsters spawning from the Strongbox, so it gets nerfed. It's literally nerfed in that way, and that's the biggest thing I don't like about it. Of course, a map layout like that in general, with all kinds of corners and stuff, is just not a big fan of it. The tower is also a fairly small map and kind of tight, but at least it doesn't have a ton of corner edges, and the hallways are, you know, opened up so that even when there's a lot of Strongboxes in a skinny hallway, it's the way the game's programming is such that they can still spawn, generally speaking, maximum or its appropriate number of monsters that should spawn out of the Strongbox. Burial Chambers is, of course, a great map. quite wide open. The Legions there are great. And yeah, the Legion was good. So I definitely like the Tower and Burial Chambers better, just generally speaking. So that's the biggest reason I gotta say no to farming the patient. I just got so many fewer patients than I should have gotten based on getting a doctor and getting 12 nurse cards in 16 maps. Just absolutely less. I don't know. Maybe they need to buff that card drop rate or something. At any rate, the Tower card before this test, the Tower was my favorite map to run of the 3. It remains my favorite map to run of the 3. It just seems to always yield better results as far as exalts per hour. Regardless of the fact that it was in a bad zone this time, at least in respect to juicing a map for divination card farming, there was no synergy there to speak of. You know, anyone who likes running Harvest on the side would of course love the fact that it's in that zone this season. I, for one, don't really like doing that, so you know, there was no... It wasn't like last season where the Tower was a T14 in Glennick Cairns, and that was just like absolute heaven. But it's okay, you know, it's going to be different this season. I don't know what next season holds, but suffice to say, I am really going to be paying close attention to if and where the Tower and Burial Chambers happen to be on the Atlas next season. Also, the fact that Nemesis is a Xana mod that you can select every time is a huge monkey off her back for like having to roll the maps. The maps are pretty cheap to roll because you only need to roll Beyond. If Nemesis is not on there and Beyond is not on there, then you're kind of gonna have to, unfortunately, either double roll them or just settle for the fact that you can't get Beyond, which means Nemesis 3 is going to be way less powerful than it is currently with what I'm doing. And I mean, on the flip side, at least that way you could focus more on target farming divination cards by, for example, rolling Nemesis and then corrupting the maps, and you know, having a lot of corrupted maps that roll like 8 mod with Nemesis, or it's Nemesis and it's corrupted unidentified, and you'll have a lot of really high quantity Nemesis maps where you know, you can still run Nemesis 3. You won't have as many monsters and you won't get as much currency, but you will get more divination cards to make up for it. That could actually conceivably be worth doing, especially on the Tower and even on the Burial Chambers, I think. So, not bad. There's also a lot of new divination cards coming out this in 3.16. At least a couple of them look like they might be high value. So you can take this information that you might be seeing now, if you're seeing it before the season starts or in the middle of next season, and you can kind of apply the same strategy of double Strongbox, Sextants, and you know, target farming divination cards that way. That's the huge takeaway from this. Whereas it's basically unheard of to like force the Doctor card to come out in the Burial Chambers. I was able to do it, and I think I could have very easily seen 2 or even 3 Doctor cards in 16 maps. In fact, you know, I'm quite confident that if I ran this exact same test again, there's a very good chance I would get another Doctor card, at least one. If I ran this test, you know, 10 times in a row, I'd probably get at least 5 Doctor cards in like 160 maps. And you know, I think that would surprise a lot of people, you know, and I would be turning a big profit at the same time. So yeah, that's it. I love divination card farming. It's part of the reason why I did the test. I really wanted to see, you know, I never targeted the patient before. I wanted to see what would happen, and I kind of knew what would happen to the Tower, but the results actually came out even better than expected, and the Burial Chambers was kind of as expected, based on the Tower results especially. Before we go, if you heard my story in the beginning of this video, you know that there's something special about these stacked decks that come out when I do these tests and I collect the stacked decks, and I got 56 here, and that's more than usual. So when I again, just to recap what happened, the weird story that happened is I farmed the armory, I got my stack decks like this, you know, I calculated them up, and then after this video, I turned off the mic, I turned off the stream, and then I went to here, and I dropped them here at the Aspirants Plaza. And a nurse card dropped of the 20 or so that I had. I did the exact same thing after the nurse test, and then the doctor card drops from it. So I am going to drop these on stream, by God, just in case something crazy happens. Let's see what happens, you know. I don't know. Probably nothing. This is exactly what I did before. I got a nurse card once, and I got a doctor card the second time. So I just want to see if some huge card, maybe I'll get a House of Mirrors or something stupid. It looks like I might not get anything. Which I'm totally fine with that. 4 cards left. There's only 3, 2, 1. Nothing. Okay. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. It's over now. So that concludes the 3-part test of the patient, nurse, and doctor cards. The findings conclude that, or at least suggest that the nurse in the tower is the most lucrative farming strategy of the 3. I wouldn't be surprised if burial chambers can compete with that with a fair bit more RNG involved. But, you know, if you want to kind of split the middle and control your RNG a bit and still make good currency, give it a try. Nemesis 3, quantity on Strongbox always rare and corrupted, as well as Beyond on your Sextants. Beyond's not mandatory, but it's a good idea. You could substitute the 4th one, but you mandatory the other 3. And it doesn't matter what your Watchstones are. Literally doesn't matter. They just be unique. Just buy them just buy them. Elevated form. Just buy them. Well, don't buy Nemesis because it's really too expensive. But, you know, in calculating the X per hour, it doesn't take long to roll 16 maps with Beyond. It doesn't take long to buy a few unique Watchstones that are pre-rolled that are essentially just kind of halfway throwaway Watchstones that, you know, didn't hit Harvest or Nemesis 4 that people are selling for like 1x a piece. So give it a try. You know, what's the worst that could happen? I mean, you're gonna spend some time grinding out a bunch of currency and nurse cards and not hit quite as much profit as you thought. You're still gonna get profit. So yeah, I'm out for now. This is Snoo, and thank you for tuning in, for especially if you watched all 3 parts. See you guys next season. I do have a couple more tests I'm gonna do. Valdo's Rest Harbinger, I still have not even farmed that before, and I'm gonna do 16 maps there next, so take a look for that. Thanks for watching.